What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I am very excited to be here doing this video because we're doing it a little bit different than usual today. This concept came to mind as soon as I saw the James Charles Morphe palette. I wanted to do 3 looks with this palette as soon as I saw it. I am sure you have seen it all over the internet already, but this is what the palette looks like on the inside. It is the James Charles Artistry palette. The tagline for this campaign is Unleash Your Inner Artist, and it is obviously very much tailored to be used for more creative looks. But the problem I find with YouTube videos usually is I don't want to do something that's like over the top creative that you would never wear out of the house, because usually that's not something you guys would recreate, and therefore what's the point of watching a tutorial on it necessarily, you know? But being that this palette is meant to unleash your inner artist, which I love, I wanted to also do some more creative stuff that's not necessarily wearable. So what I decided to do is create 3 wearable looks, stop the look at a point where you could wear it out of the house. It's complete. You can wear it to dinner, you can wear it out to a party, whatever. Like, I mean, if you have the balls to wear rainbow mismatched eyes, that part's up to you. But generally speaking, it's not something that, like, you know, you have things all over your face. And then after each of those looks is complete, I'm going to add something to it to make it a little bit more artistic, take it outside of the box, just have a little bit of fun with it, because why not? We have all these colors to play with. What I also wanted to do for this video is test the eyeshadows over a couple of different bases to kind of give you guys an idea of what I found worked better. And because obviously with 3 looks and like 2 portions of each look, so it's almost like 6 looks, this is going to be a longer video. So I will timestamp everything down below. So if you only want to see the first look, second look, third look, whatever, you can just jump down into the description and decide which part you want to watch, because I understand you got shit to do. And then at the end of the video, after the 3rd look is complete, I will have a little discussion about what I think of the palette, any tips or like things that I think you guys should know before you purchase it, etc., etc. So that will be time-stamped as well. So we've got a lot to do, like a lot, like so much to do. So we're gonna get right into the first look. But before we do, please do not forget to leave a like on this video, because I have been spending quite a lot of time filming it and it would really help me out and I would super appreciate it. And also, if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe, because I would love to have you around for future videos and have you hang out and like play with makeup with me and stuff. It's a good time. I have a good time, and I'm assuming, hopefully, that you will have a good time too. Any other information that you need, links to the products, pricing, all of that will all be listed in the description as well. I think that is all I need to tell you before we start painting my face. So let's just jump in and start the first look. So here is the packaging. This is the outside carton. It's very pretty. Somebody said, I think it was Mariah Leonard, said this looks like it says Gem is Chineo. And I can't unsee that now. The packaging is really nice, very sleek, very modern. It's definitely an improvement from past Morphe palettes. It's kind of like a more slick, updated version of the packaging they used for the 39A, which I thought was definitely way better than the plastic ones they used to use for their, or I guess they still use for the 35 palettes. The inside looks like this, and it has a little overlay to tell you what the name of each shadow is. I'm gonna try to get some variety between the looks as far as like what colors we use, so you get like a good picture of how each color in the palette performs and all of that. And for this first one, I think we're gonna go mostly into like the pinky and red tones. I'm gonna go into the shade Pinkity Drinkity right here, which is this milky kind of pink, just like a strawberry milkshake kind of a shade. And I'm gonna start by packing that above my crease, and I'm going to blend that out pretty high up, like almost up to my eyebrow. So far, that was super easy to blend. That is a really light shade, so it shouldn't be very difficult to blend, but it was like especially easy. I didn't even switch brushes. I'm picking up a smaller brush. This is a Luxie 121, and I'm going to go into this bright pink shade Skip. And I'm gonna pack that more into my proper crease area and then just blend that up into the transition shade that we put down. The shades on the bottom row of this palette are pressed pigments rather than regular eyeshadows, which basically just means that you kind of need to layer them up to make them be more even, because they don't have as much binder in them. They're more pigment, obviously. So what I find is best when I use a shade like that is to pack it where I want it with a smaller brush, and then just blend around the edges of it very softly to get the blend, because if you blend back over it, a lot of times it just kind of picks it up and moves it. This first look is going to be sort of inspired by two things. One is one of the looks from the campaign that James did for this palette. He did a pink look and then he put some heart stickers down to create like a negative space heart on his like cheek, and I think there was one up on his eye too. And also, probably almost 2 years ago now, I did a look that was with stars that was like similar colors and it had the cutouts or whatever. But I also did like a drop shadow under the area where I put the star. So I'm gonna switch it up and use hearts like he did for this one, but I'm gonna add the drop shadow like I did in the look that I did a couple years ago. I'm also packing a little bit of that pink onto the outer corner. And on a Sigma E30 pencil brush, I am going to go into the shade Love That, which is this plummy shade right here. And I'm gonna start packing that onto the outer corner to deepen it up, and also into the crease a little bit to deepen that up as well. Okay, now that I have those two shades down, I'm going to go back into the shade Pinkity Drinkity right here. On a small flat brush, this is a brush from Thrive Cosmetics, and I'm going to pack that onto the inner portion of the lid. I noticed the shades that are not the ones that are pressed pigments blend together really, really easily. I just ran over where Pinkity Drinkity is meeting with Love That with this little brush, and it's really giving me an easy blend between the two shades, so love that. Next, I'm going into the white shade, which is called Flashback, which is obviously a Flashback Mary reference, which is hilarious. I'm gonna use that as a matte inner corner highlight, so I'm gonna just pack that like heavily into my inner corner with a pencil brush. Next, I'm going to this purple shade Escape, and I'm going to use that around my lash line, just kind of deepen it up a little bit. So I'm picking up this flat brush from Alamar Cosmetics, use that to press the purple color into my lash line, but only on the outer half of the eye. And with the same pencil brush I used to apply Love That, I'm just going to tap over the edge and blend that into the other pinky purple shades that we put a little bit higher up. Okay, I went ahead and concealed underneath my eye so we can start working on the lower lash line. And let me just take a moment to say, no offense, but this is pretty as shit. So for the lower lash line, I'm gonna pick up a Luxie 111 brush. It's a small angled flat brush. It's really good for getting in under the lower lash line, but still like getting it to spread enough, you know? And I'm going to go back into Skip. I'm going to place that under my lower lash line by patting it down and then blending it out softly again like we did on the top, because again, this is one of the pressed pigment shades. And back into the purple shade Escape again, and I'm going to press that into the outer portion of the lower lash line as well like we did on the top. For the waterline, I want it to be a matte white. Normally I go with a nude in my waterline always if I want to brighten it up, but because this is like such like a playful look and we're really not going for any sort of a natural thing, I want to do white. I don't have a white pencil. I do have a Yayo from Urban Decay, but that has a little bit of shimmer and I want to keep this matte. So I'm going to use the Kat Von D brow pomade in the shade Whiteout, and I'm just going to put that through my waterline. I'm going to take a little e.l.f. pencil brush, and I'm just going to be very cautious about placing it in there. I'm not positive that these are waterline safe, but I know they are safe for use on your eyes. Okay, I went ahead and popped on the House of Lashes Iconic Lights to finish off this look. I think they add a nice shape to it. My glue is still drying, don't come for me. It'll get there. And to finish off the more wearable version of this look, I want to add a bit of an ombre lip with a nice glossy finish. So I'm gonna start with the NABLA liquid lipstick in the shade Blair. On the center, I'm going to use this pink shade. This is Miss Argentina from Kat Von D. And I'm just going to dab that in the center of my lips and then blend it out with a brush. And to top it off, I'm going to use Dose of Colors the Most from the Desi Katie Friendcation collection. And this is the wearable portion of the first look. So now that the wearable version is done, let's unleash our inner artist. I have a little sheet of stickers here. These are just craft stickers. They're hearts that are 2 different sizes. I'm just gonna place them strategically using a tweezer because my nails are not conducive to picking things up easily. I like to kind of just like look where I probably want them to go. I think I want one right there. Oh God, okay. Just gonna place that down. Maybe one right about there. Now I'm gonna be very careful because these stickers aren't super sticky. So I'm afraid that when I put my brush down with some pigment over them to create like the stencil, it's going to fall off. So we're going to be very, very cognizant of patting down over the sticker area instead of swirly. Yeah, no? Starting with the shade Skip on an Alamar Cosmetics fluffy brush, I'm just going to pat over each individual sticker first and foremost, just to make sure we get that part done. The bottom one fell off, but that's okay because we got the shape and we're part of the way there. And I'm just gonna go in around the stickers and actually connect this color into the color on the lid. Then I'm gonna grab a clean blending brush and just blend the edge of that out. Okay, obviously I went ahead and did the same thing on the other side and I just plucked off each of the sticker with tweezers. And now I'm gonna add a drop shadow to the inside of each heart so that it looks like there's like kind of space between this veil of pink and my actual cheek. The way I like to add small shadow detailing to my work, a few of you guys have actually asked me about this on Instagram, so I feel like this is a good little tip to add into this video. I like to use a brow pencil to do it unless I'm doing something bigger, in which case then I just use something that's bigger. But when it's something really small like this, a brow pencil works beautifully because it kind of gives the illusion of a shadow on the skin. There are 2 important things to remember when you are trying to create shadow. This goes for makeup, this goes for painting. A shadow is never gray. A shadow is always gray plus the color of the object that it's falling on. And 2, shadows, if there are multiple of them, should always look like they're from the same light source. When you're doing makeup, it's not super important to pick a certain direction over another for your light source, but they should all be the same, just meaning that the shadows should fall on the same side of each heart. If I were working on the lip area or even just the eye area, I would leave it with just the pencil for the shadow, but because we're working on the cheek where there are pores, pencil doesn't always sit super smooth on that. So I'm also going to go into my Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye palette. I'm gonna mix this shade and this shade on a tiny little angle brush. This is a Sigma EO6. I'm just gonna use that to smooth out the shading in those hearts. And this is the more creative version of the first. So for the second look, I primed my eyes with the P. Louise eye base. This is actually my first time using it, so I'm really not familiar with how it works, but a lot of people swear by it for very colorful looks, so I figured this palette would be very appropriate to try it with for the first time. So the first portion of this look is going to be something I've done before, something I've seen James do before, and basically something everybody and their mother has done before at this point, but is going to be rainbow eyes, like half the rainbow on this eye, half the rainbow on that eye. And the second portion will be also rainbow based, but also a little bit inspired by a look that Kaylee anyway did. I actually did a lip art based on the original eye thing that she did. I'll try to find an Instagram post or a Twitter post with whatever I'm referring to, and I'll put it underneath like the timestamp and the information for each look. So I'm gonna start with red on my right eye, and I'm gonna go into the red shade here called You're Kidding on a MAC 217 brush, and I'm gonna just press that in above the crease and then pack it all the way down to my lash line. And for the corner portion, I'm going to flick it out a little bit because I'm going to try to create like a bit of a cat eye shape. And next to that, I'm going to place the shade Rusted. And And next to that, the shade 518. I'm doing all of these on the same MAC 217 brush. I'm just cleaning them off on a color switch in between. So far as the base is concerned, I really like how the shadows are sitting on it, but it is creasing on my lids. Next, I'm going to go into the yellow shade B for the inner corner area. And for the top, I'm just going to carefully blend out those shades with a clean brush. I'm gonna go into the black shade Spooky, and I'm gonna use that to create shape along the outside portion of the eye here. I'm gonna switch to a pencil brush for the crease just to get it in there a little bit more. The black shade is blending away the color underneath it. Going back into your kidding, and I'm just gonna dab it back over the top of that where we lost that color. Hopefully it'll still look okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and wipe off this outer corner and redo it because that's not working. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's the base, but when I blend the darker color over the base color, it just goes away. The darker color gets patchy, and then it also takes away the color that was underneath as well. And she's not cute, so we're gonna fix it. I wound up switching from the black shade Spooky to a dark brown shade called Benny, and it blended much, much better, but I also replaced the primer on the outer half of my eye with the Urban Decay primer, and it was definitely working way better over the Urban Decay primer than it was over the P. Louise base. Now, since this is the first time I'm using the P. Louise base, I don't know if these two products just don't agree with each other, but I think what I'm gonna do, since it doesn't seem to really work well together, is I'm actually gonna take it off this eye and replace it with the Urban Decay primer. I know there was some discussion on the internet about what's best to prime your eyes with for this particular palette. So far, this is my pick. Okay, so now that I replaced the primer, we're going to do the same process on this side, but this time we are going to do purple, blue, green. For the purple, I'm going to go into the shade Escape. Next, I'm going to go into the shade Brother, which is this kind of, it's almost like a periwinkle or cornflower blue. Next, I'm going to dip into this bright blue shade, Playground. Then the green shade Daddy. And then this bright chartreuse green called Sociably. And I'm switching to a pencil brush for that one just to get it on all the way onto the inner corner. And just like on the other side, I'm gonna blend out the edge with a clean brush and then go in and just pat each color over the one next to it a little bit to blend them together better. Okay, and since we learned on the other eye what works best, I'm gonna go into the shade Benny on a pencil brush, and again, just create a little bit of depth through the outside of the crease and the corner of the eye. That was literally 1,000,000 times easier than the other side. I want to create a bright highlight on the inner corner, so I'm going to go over each inner corner shade with one of the shimmers in the palette. This is the shade Ring Light here. It looks like it's probably the brightest highlight shade in the palette. I'm gonna pack that on a pencil brush and I'm gonna wet it with a little bit of Fix Plus. Ooh, that is nice and bright with the Fix Plus. Yes, I like it. Since we're using the same colors and the same process on the lower lash line as the top, I'm just gonna speed through that to save a little bit of time. But I'm just gonna use the same colors and then I'm just gonna define the lower lash line with that same dark brown. And I'm gonna do it mostly with a pencil brush because it's a smaller area, so obviously using such a large brush wouldn't be a wise decision. Okay, I went off camera and put on some lashes. These are the House of Lashes Iconic Lights again, one of my favorites. Obviously, I want the focus here to be on the rainbow colors of the eye, so I'm going to do a very, very nude lip, but with a little bit of dimension, a little glossy juiciness to it. So I'm going to use the Fenty Stunna Lip Paint in the color Unbutton. Top it with the Fenty Gloss Bomb in Fenty Glow. Now this is the more wearable version of the second look. So now let's add on to this and make it a little bit more artsy and creative and fun. So for the creative portion of this, I want to do like paint drops of the same rainbow shades that are on the eyes coming down underneath the eyes onto the cheeks. To start doing that, I'm going to create an outline so I know like a reference of where I want to put the drips. Something that's not super dark, so that way if I screw it up, which sometimes we do, and it's okay, it's gonna be fine. It's easy to like cover it up and start over or correct it or whatever. So I'm going to use the same eyebrow pencil I used yesterday. This is the Benefit Precise My Brow in number 6. And I'm going to use that to just start drawing the shape of the drips from under the eyes. I'm starting from like the outside corner where the eye comes to a wing because I feel like that's a good natural place for it to start to drip. I'm not even sure how much you can see of that outline on camera, but I actually think that this one here would be cooler if it came down a lot farther. So I'm just gonna dab that line away with my finger. It's usually the best way to do it, and go back in and make it the way that I think it should be. Okay, so that's the general shape. And to create like a really bright base, I'm gonna use the same eyeshadow that I used on the eyes in the drips, but it's not gonna look the same if I just use it directly onto the skin. So I'm going to go in with a base. Generally, if I was doing this without like stopping it and show you guys the wearable version of the look, I would do this before I put on any other eyeshadow underneath my eye, but we'll make it work. I'm going to use the Kat Von D Brow Pomade in Bleach. This one is off-white, and I'm applying this using a flat Alamar Cosmetics brush. Now I'm going to go in with the colors that coordinate with the ones that we used in the eye to fill in the shape that we just made, this little drippy doodle. Now I'm going to go back in with the same eyebrow pencil again, and I'm going to create a shadow underneath one side of each strip to give it a little bit of dimension and depth and shadow, quite frankly. Okay, so now that we have both sides filled in and both sides have a shadow, I'm going to add some highlights strategically to the painty drips. This is the Suva Beauty Hydro Liner in the color Space Panda. I'm going to be applying it today using a nail art brush. I think I've mentioned this to you guys before. Probably, I think it was in my Halloween skull tutorial, but when I need to get some really, really tiny detail, I always find that a nail art brush is the way to go. Like we discussed before, I want to keep the same light source, so they'll all be like on the same relative side of each drip, but I think what makes most sense is to have them on the opposite side from where the shadow is. And this is the creative version of look number 2. Okay, for the final look, we're gonna start with a blue and purple kind of like night sky looking smoky-ish eye situation. I don't know if it's a smoky eye. I don't know if it's gonna be a smoky eye. I didn't do it yet, so I don't know anything about what it's gonna be at all, actually. But I'm gonna start with a transition, so I'm gonna go into a little bit of Punch Me and I'm gonna mix it with this shade Canvas on a Morphe M433 brush, and I am not putting that in my crease. I am putting it way the fuck up there because I want this to be big. I want it to be bold. We're going all the way up. Next, I'm gonna pick up a MAC 221S brush and I'm gonna go into the shade Brother. And I'm gonna pack that on above my crease. Next, I'm gonna take a MAC 219S pencil brush and I'm going into the blue shade Cola. I'm gonna use that to deepen the crease. On the same pencil brush, I'm gonna go back into the color Escape, and I'm gonna pack that on the outer and inner portion of the lid. note, that shade is giving me a bit of fallout, but it's okay because we came prepared with no concealer. Next, on a MAC 242S brush, this is a synthetic flat brush. I'm gonna go into the shade Artistry right here. I'm gonna wet that with a little bit of Fix Plus. And I'm gonna put that on the center portion where we left it open. Ooh, hello friend. And I wanna deepen the outer corner just a little bit, so I'm gonna go back into the shade Benny that we used in the last look on an e.l.f. pencil brush, and I'm just gonna dab that in the outer corner. All right, to save some time, I went ahead and added a winged liner off camera because at this point, this video is 427 hours long. Whatever the amount of time was in that movie where James Franco sawed his own arm off to escape, that's the amount of time that this video is so far. I want to make this a double wing though, so I'm gonna go over the top line with some white. We're gonna go back into the Suva Beauty Hydra Liner in Space Panda like we used in one of the last looks. And I'm gonna try my best to do this good. I'm scared. I'm gonna use a nail art brush again. All right, not the most even white line of my life, but it'll do. I'm gonna go into the shade Playground on a pencil brush, and I am going to smoke out my lower lash line with that. On a flat brush, I'm gonna go back into Escape. I'm gonna use that to deepen the lower lash line a little and connect it with the wing. And for the waterline, I really want to kind of keep these blue tones going. So I'm gonna pick up an Urban Decay 24/7 pencil in the shade Abyss. I almost thought I was done with the eyes, but I realized I forgot an inner corner highlight, and I want to try this shade because it looks so good. I'm gonna go into the color Cape Cod here on a pencil brush, and I am going to wet that with some setting spray. And I'm gonna go into this icy blue shade here, Hello, and I'm gonna layer that on top, like just on the very, very inner corner portion. Like obviously that was the inner corner, but like literally just right there. Popped on House of Lashes Iconic Lights again. Is it because I love them or is it because I'm lazy? Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. So now I need to add a lip, and I want to, again, I'm keeping it nude for most of these looks because they are so eyeshadow centric, but because it's a little bit more on the cool side, I'm gonna go with a little bit of a cooler toned nude. So I'm gonna use the Fenty lip paint in Uncuffed, which is more of a mauve-y shade. And I'm gonna top it with the Gloss Bomb in Diamond Milk. And this is the wearable version of the third look. So for the more artsy version of the third look, I'm going to be taking inspiration from MCDREW on Instagram and Snatched by Jake on Instagram. It's not going to be a recreation of either of their two looks. It's just going to be kind of similar to their style. If you follow them, you'll know what I mean. But basically, I'm gonna do like a little bit of like a night sky scene that's gonna go up onto my forehead and then like blend down underneath the eyes, almost like a mask. It's gonna take a while because it is a large area, so I'm just gonna make a couple of notes for you guys before we start, and then I'm gonna basically like zoom through it as much as I can, and I might stop a couple times to explain a thing or two here and there. First of all, I'm gonna use all the same colors that I used on my eyes, and second of all, if you're doing this look and you're going to be wearing your hair back or just like parted or whatever, then you're probably gonna wanna blend the colors into your hairline more than I'm going to. I'm not going to do that because I just washed my hair and I don't want to try to get eyeshadow out of it. But I'm also not doing it because I'm going to wear bangs that like come straight across and like right to here. So you're not going to really see where it goes into my hairline anyway. So I think that pretty much sums it up. I'm going to just get in here and get to blending because we've got a lot to do. And I'll stop along the way and give you guys any little tips and tricks. Okay, so I have the base color down. Like I said, I skipped a little bit of the area by my forehead just because I'm gonna cover it with bangs anyway. I am going to add some white detailing. I'm gonna go back into the Suva Beauty Hydro Liner in the color Space Panda again. Also going to add a few just clear Swarovski crystals for some sparkle, kind of like do like a little star effect with that. And I'm also going to add some little clouds around the cheek area. I am going to create them partially using the Hydro Liner as well, but also a little bit of white out from Kat Von D. This is one of my favorite to like make kind of an airy looking whiteness with it. I've used it on my lips to make clouds before and it worked really well. Popped on the bangs, cover up those empty spaces, and this is the more creative version of the third look. Okay, I feel hilarious sitting here and talking to you with my face painted like a sky. However, I want to get my thoughts about the palette out while they're still fresh in my mind. Literally just finished my last look with it. Trying to fix my bangs because I know if I don't, somebody's gonna be like, your bangs look kind of crooked. And I'm gonna be like, you know what? Your mom's butt's kind of crooked. They're still crooked, whatever, it doesn't fucking matter. So, my thoughts on this palette are actually pretty short and sweet because everything performed really nicely. The packaging is nice, it's very sleek, it's very simple, it does the job, it doesn't like take up an exorbitant amount of space for the amount of shadows that are in there. I think the price point is fantastic for what you're getting. The only shade I had trouble with was the shade Spooky, which is the black matte shade. I am going to try that shade again over a different base. I think that maybe the P. Louise base just wasn't agreeing with that for some reason. The other shadows actually seemed to perform just fine over the P. Louise base, so I don't know. I think that was just not a marriage that was meant to happen. James said himself when he was talking about this palette that you definitely need to kind of layer the matte shades upon themselves, and I would say that that's true. They're very vibrant, but there definitely needs to be like, it's not a one swipe and done kind of a scenario, but I did find that the shades, especially the matte shades, blended together beautifully. Like they were very like, I don't know, like very velvety when you blended them together. Like it did not take much to blend one color into the other, even colors that were very different. Of all the colorful palettes that I own, not only do I think this is up there in quality, especially for the price, I also think this is like the most complete color-wise. Like I think this is the only palette that I own that has the entire rainbow in it. I don't have the Sugar Pill Pro palette. I know somebody's gonna ask about that. I would like to see how the shades that are comparable to the ones in the 35B palette that this replaced, I would like to see how they perform next to each other. Let me know in a comment down below if you want to see a video where I compare the James palette to the 35B. But yeah, overall, I love it. I had so much fun creating these looks. I am so sorry that this is the longest video of all time, but I'm assuming that you guys take advantage of the timestamps because I wouldn't even watch me this long. I mean, come on. I hope you enjoyed this type of a video. I know it's a little bit different for me, but I hope that you found it to be a little bit fun, a little bit something different. If you are interested in looks like this, I do things like this more often on Instagram, so don't forget to come follow me over there. I would love to have you. So I'm concentrating very hard on being more engaging on my stories because I feel like I have been slacking on them a lot lately, and I don't want that to be the case. So if you would like to see me do better at posting on my stories, don't forget to come follow me on Instagram. Don't forget to leave a like on this video because it took me 337 years to film it, and I would really appreciate it. It helps me out, and I would also love it if you would subscribe because I would love to have you stick around for future videos. I think that is all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.